film opens with a man in an astronaut costume walking down the road. He opens his visor to view the fireworks, but before he could enjoy them, he wakes up to show us that he was dreaming this whole time. His name is Charlie, and his wife Hannah asks him to help her with her dress. Hannah mentions that his boss Carol will be announcing his promotion that day. Hannah feels happy and reminds Charlie about their therapy session in the afternoon before she heads for work. Charlie promises to be there and gets ready for work. He sits with their dog Rufus, setting up his favorite show on the telly, and gives him the instructions for the day. He motivates himself, and while he looks at the room on the side, Charlie thinks about a kid running inside the house. Before long, we see Charlie at work, and he receives the text from Hannah on his flip phone. His colleagues congratulate Charlie for the promotion, and soon their boss Carol comes out to announce that their new manager is Blaine. Charlie colleague questions that since he's been here only for a few months. After this, Charlie debates the issue with Carol, who blatantly announces that Blaine was chosen because he shared lots of memes with her. Charlie questions how that is related to their work, but Carol hands him a brochure and asks him to attend an online training session for a week. Charlie heads to the bathroom to call Hannah to tell her that he didn't get the job and that he's going out of town for a week. Right then, his phone turns off and Hannah can be seen with her friend Angela. Later, Charlie heads back home on the bus and suddenly a man sits on him. Charlie is shocked by this and changes his seat. He gets down at the stop and walks back home. Rufus welcomes him back and he goes inside to apologize to Hannah for missing therapy. Hannah mentions how her friend suggested they go on a vacation and feels nostalgic about how lively Charlie used to be. Charlie finds that acceptable and agrees to go. Hannah mentions the therapy session and that they need to work on the room together. Hannah kisses him and Charlie turns to find his hand turned transparent. Charlie gets up and walks back. Hannah asks what's going on, but he apologizes to her and goes to the bathroom. Charlie washes his face and finds that both his hands turned transparent and the water going through them. He goes back normal soon, and Hannah comes knocking asking what's wrong with him. Charlie tells her that he feels sick. Hannah calls him outside to talk. Charlie insists that they talk in the morning, and this makes Hannah angry as she punches the door. Charlie is back at viewing the fireworks and he starts floating up in space and wakes up in shock. He goes to find Hannah on the phone mentioning that Charlie has gone out. Charlie is confused with her conversation and asks her what's going on, but she ignores him and leaves. Charlie gets ready and heads out with his suitcase. Soon he is on the train and he finds his vision turn blurry all of a sudden. He calls Hannah, but the call doesn't go through. Charlie walks out the train station to notice that he left his suitcase, but suddenly a man walks right through him. Charlie runs to Hannah's office to look for her, but he finds that Hannah ignoring him. He picks up a painting on the wall and bangs it on the chair to make her notice him, but she does not. Instead, she turns to the side and walks up to straighten the painting on the wall. Charlie looks at her, moving her empty hands towards the wall. Charlie walks outside, thinking something is definitely wrong with him. Soon, a man walks up to him and introduces himself as Nick. Right then, a man walks past through Charlie and he throws up. Nick says that he should avoid that. Charlie asks Nick if he is dead, and seeing Nick nod his head in response, Charlie thinks that's the case. However, Nick mentions that he was just messing with him and that they are not dead. Nick proceeds to ask Charlie to join him for coffee. As they walk past the park, Nick finds a man and woman playing alone. He finds it strange and soon both of them reach the diner. Nick goes on to the table and hands Charlie the coffee in front of another guy and picks up the sandwich. Charlie notices the man proceeding to drink the coffee. Nick says that for the man the coffee is still there. Charlie takes sip as well, but he says that he cannot taste the coffee. Nick mentions that the taste is there, but it's subtle. Nick invites him to grab a seat and they sit by the old man. Charlie waves his hand around asking if they are ghosts. However, Nick finds that offensive. Right then, Nick introduces the waitress as Grace and he talks along the dialogue same as the old man. Grace smiles as she walks inside with the order. Seeing her go, Nick mentions to Charlie that he loves her. Charlie is speechless and mentions that he should be heading for his work training and walks outside. Nick points out that no one is going to see him and that he must join him to meet Carl. Charlie is confused by the whole thing and Nick points out that they have reached the place. They walk up into a bowling alley, where Nick introduces Charlie to Carl the bartender. Carl makes him a drink and asks him to relax around here, since it will take time for him to get used to this. Nick calls out to Charlie and introduces him to Jimmy the wrestler. Jimmy invites them to watch him wrestle that night. Charlie agrees and Jimmy hugs him, saying that it means a lot to him. After Jimmy leaves, Nick introduces Charlie to the rest and Carl walks up to them to offer a toast and welcomes Charlie to the team. After that, they play a game of bowling and they all head to watch Jimmy's wrestling match. Charlie finds it intriguing to see Jimmy act so normal with the rest of the people there. Carl answers him to think of it like Jimmy's own dream world and asks Charlie to start living for his own too. After the game, The team gather to talk about their life as an invisible, and Charlie wonders how they could consider all this a good thing. Charlie leaves them and goes back home to find Hannah and Angela watching a movie. He hears Hannah mention that she keeps forgetting Charlie's name, but Angela seems to have forgotten him already. So, Hannah shows her Charlie's picture on her phone to make her remember. Hannah proceeds to call Charlie against Angela's wish, and seeing her do that, Charlie sits beside her and picks up his phone. But the call goes straight to voicemail, and even though Charlie feels bad about it, he is taken aback by their remark about him still having a flip phone. Angela gets up to leave, but before Hannah could get up, Charlie takes up a CD to play it. It was filmed during their time at the beach, but only he can see it, and all Hannah could see was the plain screen. She goes to the door to see Angela off, and after Hannah heads inside, Charlie goes after her as well, and a painting catches his eye. He sees a couple standing in gap in the middle. He turns to the side to see a wall there and tries hard to remember what was there before. He stands there thinking hard as he looks at the painting. At night, Charlie lays down beside Hannah on bed, and right then, Hannah picks up her phone to watch something. Charlie is shocked to find her crying as she watches it and takes a look at what she is watching, but it looks blurred to him. She questions her only for it to be not heard by her. After some time, Hannah puts her phone down, goes to sleep with tears in her eyes. Even though she cannot hear him, Charlie says that he loves her and sleeps. In the dream, Hannah is beside Charlie this time, but the dream cuts short and Charlie wakes up to find Hannah struggling with her dress. He goes to help her, but Hannah manages it on her own. Charlie watches her as she sets up everything for Rufus before heading for work. So, Charlie dresses up as well and heads to work. He watches as his colleagues are talking about Charlie not getting the promotion. But then, the new manager Blaine walks in to harass them. In anger, Charlie throws a stapler at him and it goes inside Blaine's head, giving him a headache. Seeing that it affects him, Charlie throws a cup at him. Surprised to see that he can affect the real world, Charlie shakes their table, and his colleagues can see the table shaking as well. Seeing this, Blaine leaves them alone, and Charlie hears his colleagues talking about the table shaking. Charlie runs to find the others and informs them about him affecting the real world, and he also mentions to find a way for him to go back. But Carl opposes him, saying that no one can go back from this place. Charlie questions why no one even wants to try, but Carl cuts him off, saying that nothing awaits them in the real world and it's better here for them to be themselves forever. Carl continues to say that they are all chosen to have this opportunity to realize who they are, but right then they are surprised by the arrival of a kid. Seeing him, Charlie calls out to him as Oscar, and the kid addresses him as Dad. Charlie recognizes him as well and asks if he was okay and that he will do whatever he wants. Oscar wants to visit the aquarium and Charlie agrees to take him there. Moving on, Charlie introduces Oscar as his kid to the others and they feel happy for him. While Charlie and Oscar walk together, Charlie sees the adults playing with children at the park. At the aquarium, Charlie questions Oscar where he was all this time, but Oscar doesn't seem to remember exactly. Charlie pushes him to remember, but seeing Oscar feel comfortable, he lets him be. After this, Oscar watches the jellyfish and mentions that he is one too and moves around. Charlie smiles watching Oscar be happy. While they walk out, Oscar notices a poster about fireworks and asks Charlie to go see them. They get back home, but Hannah and Rufus are not there. Oscar runs to the side room and Charlie follows him. This time, Charlie notices the painting and he sees a boy in between. Charlie smiles and heads inside to find Oscar ask him what they have done to his room. Charlie mentions that they took everything down for repainting. Charlie asks Oscar to help him put everything back up. Sometime later, Charlie cooks for them and Hannah returns with Rufus. Oscar calls out to them, but just like Charlie, he cannot be seen or heard. Oscar wishes that Hannah would be with them as well, but Charlie reminds him that she is there, but Oscar meant for her to be in the other side. Charlie goes to comfort him, and at this time, Hannah is inside Oscar's room looking at another video. This time, Charlie can see the video as well, and tells her it's alright since Oscar is safe with him. They all eat together, but we can see in reality that Hannah is alone. At night, Charlie sleeps alongside Oscar, and they do their countdown ritual to fall asleep. The next day, Charlie takes Oscar to watch the fireworks, and as they walk down the road, Charlie remembers walking down the same road along with Hannah and Oscar. Back then, while they were watching the fireworks, Oscar ran off to be hit by a car. Charlie holds on to Oscar at present, as he thinks back to the past and remembers everything. He takes Oscar to the bowling alley and confides in Nick about his past. Right then, Charlie notices Carl talking to a new woman. Charlie gets up to walk towards them, and he seems to recognize the woman. He calls out to her, Kara, and she recognizes him as well. They talk about their lives and Oscar walks in. After Charlie introduces him to her, Oscar takes Kara to play bowling. Charlie mentions to Nick that he used to date Kara in the past, and Nick mentions that he could start over if he wants. Right then, Kara drops in to ask Nick to switch with her to play with Oscar. Kara mentions that it must be fate to reunite with Charlie like this after all these years. Right then, Carl walks in with their drinks and mentions to Charlie that he's got a vacant condo and he could move in with Oscar if he wants. That night, Charlie and Oscar return home and go straight to bed. They do their countdown ritual as usual, but Oscar mentions that he feels uncomfortable in this house. Charlie uses this chance to mention about the condo Carl mentioned, and Oscar agrees to shift over. Charlie sees him and Oscar living with Kara in his dream, and he wakes up to find Oscar asking him to visit the aquarium again. But today, Charlie mentions that they have to go see Jimmy's wrestling match. At the match, Charlie notices everything to be the exact same as the previous match, down to everyone's every move. Later, him and Oscar visit the aquarium where he notices Oscar acting the same way when they came here before. He questions Oscar about his behavior, but Oscar continues to move like he's been programmed to or something. Later, Charlie confides in Carl about his findings, but Carl asks him to realize that they have been chosen to live their lives again as they like, and asks Charlie that he could do the same with Kara and Oscar. Carl asks about his decision to moving into the condo, and Charlie accepts the offer and asks Carl to help him. We find Nick back at the diner to see Grace, but this time, he notices that Grace is sad and follows her inside the kitchen. Nick hears Grace on the phone with her mom mentioning that it's been really hard for her lately, and that she doesn't know what to do. Nick tells her it's going to be alright. Right now, Jimmy and Carl help Charlie to move into the new condo. Charlie walks in to find Kara has arranged Oscar's room just like how it was and sees them talking. At this time, Angela has arranged for a party at Hannah's place to help her. Charlie thanks Kara for helping Oscar, but Kara mentions that she likes to rekindle their connection and leans forward to kiss him. But Charlie is taken aback since he is still married, but Kara assures him that she will never leave him and that Charlie must learn to live in the moment. Kara leans in for another kiss, but Charlie asks her to take care of Oscar since he's got somewhere to be. Charlie goes back home to find a party going on. He finds Hannah happily dancing with her friends. He goes to her side and says that he has found his place, and now he wants Hannah to be as well. As Hannah stops moving for a second, Charlie goes on to kiss her and leaves. Surprisingly, Hannah feels it and kind of notices Charlie's reflection on the TV. Angela asks her what's wrong, but Hannah finds it really strange. She heads to the bathroom and cries as she watches an old video of Charlie singing to her. At this time, Charlie finds Nick standing outside the diner. Nick tells him about finding Grace sad today, and even though he loves her so much, and he felt so terrible with not being able to help her, Charlie mentions that even though he could affect the real world, he doesn't know how to go back, and now he has decided to accept his fate. Nick mentions that he needs to know how Charlie tried because the only person that matters to him is in the real world. Charlie doesn't understand either, and goes on to mention that Oscar died and he's here only because Charlie wants him to be, and that is possible only in this place. Nick gets it, but he feels it is time for them to move on. Charlie goes back to the condo and remembers his fight with Hannah for not accepting Oscar's death and trying to move on. Charlie sees Kara sleeping on the sofa and thinks whether she is here because of him as well. He walks to Oscar's room. Oscar wakes up and Charlie, having realized the truth, tells Oscar that he needs to go back home, and even though he wishes to, he cannot take Oscar with him. Charlie says he loves him and does the countdown ritual for him. Charlie opens his eyes to see that Oscar is no more here and heads outside. He bids his farewell to Kara as well and runs outside. On his way, he goes back to the real world as he gets hit by a car. The driver blames him for jumping in out of nowhere. Charlie thanks him and reaches home. He knocks on the door to call for Hannah. She questions him for avoiding her all this time, and he asks her to join him outside. Charlie mentions that he has said his goodbye to Oscar tonight. Hannah hugs and kisses him. She welcomes him back and they walk back to home together. In the morning, Charlie goes to the bowling alley and realizes that it is definitely not like how he saw it was. He goes around looking at the place and thinking that the others might be here. Charlie shows them that he's back, and that they can too if they really want to. He says to them to come find him once they get back. As Charlie turns to leave, he notices the glasses by the bar shaking. The movie ends with Grace taking the order of a customer, and we find that it is Nick who has returned to the real world. And that is it for this 2024 movie called The Invisibles. Let me know what you will do if you become invisible down in the comments. And make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you again in the next video. Until then, this is your host for Movie Recap, signing off.